Good afternoon, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for Wednesday, the 17th of December. I couldn't manage to do it before the market opened this morning, so this is a lunchtime webinar. Okay, my disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, and I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at CTM The Bigger Picture Substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of a week. All right, great. Let's have a look at Yes. Now, ES, we saw a bit of a rally, and actually, in the pre-market video this morning on the main Substack, I was saying that ideally, what I would like to see is a sharp decline in the morning today, and then recovery basically back to yesterday's close, and ideally a little higher this afternoon. At the moment, well, we seem to be doing the decline part. Don't know whether we'll see the other, but at the moment, that's where we are. We do have a head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 6740 area, and we're currently down at about 6800. So we need to decline another 60 points, which might be ambitious for the afternoon. But we are currently about 80 points down from the high this morning, so maybe. All right, NQ. Again, we got our head and shoulders. Again, it's broken down with a target in the 24,605 area, and this is still some distance away. We'll see whether it's got the juice to make it, and if it does, whether it can make it back by the end of the day. The reason I'm talking about the end of the day is something I was talking about in my post yesterday, but I'll go through it again when we're looking at the RTH charts. On RTY, we're actually pretty close to the target on here. This is broken down. This head and shoulders is broken down with a target in the 2515 area, and we're getting pretty close, and we're currently down about the 2520 area. So this is the one that will likely hit first if they're going to hit. We shall see. All right, could there be a larger head and shoulders here? Yes, there could. And I've considered that, but to be honest, I think I'm doubtful about the first one making target. But if you're looking, but at the line I'm looking at here, that is the line for the equivalent head and shoulders, really, for the ones on ES and NQ. I haven't drawn that in, but if that did make target, that would have a target slightly below the monthly pivot at 24.56.90. Looking at YM, making some more downside. This looks like a bull flag forming, but it's more of a artist's impression of a flag rather than an actual flag. It's we're not getting clean trend lines here, so but nonetheless, this looks like a bullish consolidation. At DAX, I could argue that a head and shoulders is breaking down here, but it's not particularly high quality, and I've got serious doubts about it making target in any case. ESDX, we've reached a potential head and shoulder neckline here. Of course, any head and shoulder neckline is a decent looking support area. We've got this triangle. I was expecting this to break up, but actually it's broken down, and that's played out. So basically it's gone to the base of the triangle. So the 60-minute sell signal here has now made the full target, and that's the last sell signal we had on deck. So we'll see how that goes, but this is a pretty good level to be finding support. And we will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, looking at the daily charts first. Yesterday, we held, sorry, this is an end of day chart. So we held, or at least I think it's an end of day chart. Yeah, EOD, right. So SPX, we held the daily middle band yesterday, and we have broken down below it. The question is, are we going to actually break it on a daily basis? This is the less convincing of the statistics, though. The really impressive one was Qs. Now, Qs, we've actually closed two days below it. But one thing I was saying yesterday in the post I did about equities and the head and shoulder patterns was that we've seen 8 breaks below the daily middle band since the April low. And 4 of them, I think, for 3 or 4, closed back above the next day, and up to 7 of them closed back above by the end of the second day. And you can see that here, because here, of course, we see one close below, back above the following day, close below, and this is the first close below, and then 1, 2, close back on the second. Close below, 1, 2, close back on the second. So we've got it's the only time we haven't managed to do that really was, I think, here where it took 3 days. But obviously, this has been a continuous uptrend, and for most of this uptrend, Qs have been leading. One reason why we're seeing a lot of uncertainty now at the moment is because Qs aren't leading. Qs are now trailing, and this may well be because the AI bubble is starting to burst, but too early to say. But in the meantime, this has us down the second day, but of course, 7 out of 8 of the previous ones have actually closed back above on the second day. I think the third one might have closed back above on the third day. Which one was that? All right, closed below, back above the next day, closed below again, back above the next day, closed below again, back above the next day. No, it wasn't here. Oh, it was this one, of course. So this one was the first decent retracement. But the thing is, I think chances are we're topping out for at least a decent retracement, possibly a full reversal. So I think we might be forming a triangle here. I was considering the possibility we might do A, B, C, but I think that's too ambitious in terms of a decline. But I am wondering about whether we will get back over the end of Qs by the end of today, because only one of these actually did more of that. Now I think the wind is changing and the trend is changing, but I don't think it's quite changed yet. And I think at the minimum we should see a retest of this high, and I'm expecting to see that on SPX too. In terms of dire, we hadn't got close to the daily middle band, and we're still not close to it, and nor are we likely to. In terms of the hourly RSI 14 sell signals we had, SPX made target. Sorry about this. SPX made target, and we're actually getting a bit of positive divergence now. Qs. Okay, this could get annoying. Qs have made the full target. Dire has made also the full target, and I think Wives made the full target too. All of the negative divergence we had at the top, I know Dire had failed already, and IWM has made the full target. So all of the negative divergence we had has now played out. We've got nothing left, apart from obviously some daily RSI 14 sell signals that are really a long way from making target, and have all made the possible near-miss target in any case. All right, great. How are we looking on the 15-minute charts? Let's have a look. This could get a little old, actually. All right, no positive divergence there. Nothing on Qs, but we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed. Doesn't look like there's anything interesting happening on the 15 minutes. Let's have a look at the IWM chart. On the daily chart, we are again not close to a test of the daily middle band, but we're closer than we are on Dire. On the hourly chart, we've reached the full RSI 14 sell signal target. So this is all of the hourly sell signals out of the way, because we have the ones on all of them except Qs, and these have all now reached the targets. On the 15-minute chart, I think we might have an open 15-minute buy signal. No, we don't. We had an RSI 14 buy signal brewing. We lost the divergence and then rallied. This could be a double bottom here. I am looking at this area and wondering whether we might see a rally here. Now, I'm going to actually do crypto early today, because one thing I was talking about yesterday was the possibility that we were going to go down while Bitcoin and the others made their flag targets. But so far, that's not happening. And we actually had this strange little rally this morning, and then we're not actually back down to yesterday's lows yet. So that's a bit surprising. Solana, however, was making more progress to the downside. We've almost got back to the low there. That's at 121.54, and we've made it down to 122.56. On Ethereum, we have now seen a breakdown down below flag channel support. But all these retests of the lows, this is all unfinished business. It doesn't have to be done straight away, but it does have to be done relatively soon. And now, particularly now that we've got all 3 flags broken down, I'm not expecting it to take too long before those make target. And I'm wondering whether this is going to signal that we could have a bigger decline in equities here than I would otherwise be thinking of. All right, great. Let's have a look at, hang on 1 second, DAX. DAX, we've got... DAX, we've got no current divergence. Obviously, the head and shoulders failed. We got over 24.4K, got to 25.4.5K. I'm expecting to see another leg up. I'm expecting to see all-time high retests on SPX and Qs, and I'm expecting to see one really on DAX as well. I don't have a target back up at the high on the retest of on Nikkei, so I am wondering about that. We are reaching actually, the trend lines drifted slightly. Sorry, hang on, I'm just going to draw that so it's accurate. Nikkei, we're trying to break back below the daily middle band as we are on SPX and as we are on Qs, and this is the rising support trend line. And we're almost there. I'm wondering if that's going to test and hold when we get there, but at the moment this all looks like bullish consolidation. Could be a flag, could go a bit lower, but it still looks like a flag, which ultimately results in a retest of this high here at 52.6k. We do, on the other hand, have an RSI 14 sell signal brewing. It wouldn't be a good correlation with what I'm expecting on the SPX or Qs charts, but I am wondering A, B, C, or at least that's something I'd always been wondering on a setup like this, and I'm wondering whether it might deliver that. All right, great. Let's have a look at. All right. Let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, we've got we're basically at an inflection point here. We've got a nice looking double top, which is broken down with a target in the 97.37 to 97.47 area, and we got a possible falling megaphone, which is suggesting that we might see an early fail and a return back up to the highs. I'm keeping an open mind. In terms of helpful patterns on correlated instruments, nothing really here on the euro. GBP USD, we've got a double top, which is broken down with a target in the 1.3225 area, but it does look as though it may be just immediately failing. In terms of USD JPY, I'm still wondering about a test of, this developing into a channel, but it hasn't developed into a channel yet. And obviously we'd need to get back down to this level here in about the 153.7 area to make that potential channel support. It is a very nice setup though, and I'm still thinking it might make it, but for it to do so, that probably involves the dollar going down. USD CAD, looks like an IHS forming, leaning towards the upside. US dollar looks like head and shoulders forming, maybe. But NZ very much looks like a head and shoulders forming. So I don't know. I think the lean is towards dollar down here in the short term, as far as we can tell from the currency pairs. Let's have a look at the. Wait a second. All right, let's have a look at the currencies. Okay, US dollar. We've got a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing. I've got to say this is all, we've almost lost this divergence, but it still looks pretty nice. And I'm wondering about this in conjunction with the megaphone, falling megaphone on the dollar, and wondering whether we will see a return back up to the highs. We could see that, so we shall see. In terms of the euro, not a lot to say in the short term. GBP USD, we do have a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing, which is matching the possible RSI 14 or 5 buy signal brewing on DX. So this would be the sort of thing you would see if we were going to see US dollar returning back up to the highs. USD, JPY, the big three are the Euro, GBP, and USD JPY. In terms of the dollar index, so we've only got a buy signal. Well, we've got buy signal on two of them because on DX as well. So, but we don't have anything on USD JPY. Keeping an open mind, not definitive, but I'd say that the pattern setup has a slight lean to the downside on US dollar, and the signal setup has a slight lean to the upside. All right, not a lot to say about USD CAD. Australian dollar, we've got a weak RSI 5 sell signal as fixed, which is playing out slightly. We do have a potential level top here, but ideally it would go a little higher. On NZUSD, not a lot to say really. All right, let's move on. Let's go to bonds. And on ZB, we've been seeing a bit of a rally here. Now, we've got a potential falling wedge here, and this is a possible alternate because the main pattern, obviously, is a head and shoulders is broken down with a target in the 112.04 area. On ZN, we've been seeing a bit of a rally here. Could be a triangle, probably bearish. Could be a flag forming. But main pattern here is a small double top has broken down with a target in the 110.17 to 110.12 area. Those are the main patterns. Let's have a look at see how those look on the bigger pictures. And on TYX, TYX, we don't have any divergence here, or at least it's very marginal if we do, but we do have a flag here. We've got an IHS which is broken up. We've got a target up there, but up for that in about the 50.2 area, and it's made it halfway there, and it's broken over the flag resistance. I'm liking the upside here, and that means downside on bonds. In terms of the daily chart on TNX, no divergence again. Again, we've got an IHS which is broken up. I haven't marked that in here, but I've marked it up on the 60-minute chart, that's broken up with a target in about the 44.9 area. But what I would say is that we've got 42.01, 42.04. Sometimes you form an alternate in right shoulder, and I'm wondering if we might do that here. Alternatively, you could read this as a asymmetric double bottom, but I am wondering about that. It's a very nice inverted head and shoulders here, but this is obviously a resistance level, and it's finding some resistance there so far. Looking at TLT, we've got a little rising megaphone. It's broken down. We've got a head and shoulders, and it's a nice one again. They're all nice here, and that has broken down with a target in the 85-10 area. So I've got a pretty strong lean to the downside. And I think that makes a lot of sense, and we've got some very nice patterns. But I am watching and considering the alternative. Okay, let's have a look at the CL chart. Okay, now here we've seen some real fireworks. I've been talking for weeks about the possibility that we might come back and do a full retest of this low, and we saw that yesterday. We saw a lower low, and that's got some implications. Now we're seeing a bit of a rally from there, but I've got to say my lean would be that we'd see at least some more downside, and the reason is that we had a big inverted head and shoulders. Obviously I'll show you that on the bigger picture chart, but we had a big inverted head and shoulders break up on HO, and that's just failed. Now, that's failed on the continuous chart, hasn't actually got below this, which would, on the bigger picture chart, be the right shoulder low, but I would tend to take the continuous chart. You can't use you can't do big patterns on these, on the front months. You've really got to use the continuous chart. So at the moment, that is suggesting we might see a rally here. This falling wedge is suggesting that, but on the bigger picture, we're probably going to see at least some more downside. RBOB, strong decline, already made it to the retest of the October low, which HO is getting pretty close to. Again, I'm thinking this may go down, but mainly because I'm thinking HO probably needs to go down. NG might be still looking at a bit of a rally here. 60-minute buy signal is fixed. Hasn't quite made it possible near miss target. But I think a bit of a rally here is needed to this is a very, very, very steep trend line. And NG has just basically collapsed almost a third from 5.5. Very, very impressive. So no, I think that's likely a rejection of the breakup I was talking about a week and a half ago. But nonetheless, it was a very impressive rejection. But if we are going to go down further, we probably need a rally, set up a less steep resistance trend line, and go down from that. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture. Right, WTech. Looking at the obviously we've got these bigger picture wedges, and these did look all the same, but they're varying a bit now. We're now getting pretty close to a possible test of the wedge support here, and I'm leaning towards seeing that now because we've already seen the test of that on RBOB. On gasoline actually. Here, that would be the support trend line. So if we hit that, I redraw the resistance trend line and show the wedges unbroken. Doesn't actually change a huge amount, but it does mean it's unbroken rather than necessarily immediately looking for a topping pattern. In terms of the daily chart here, weak RSI 14 sell signal had already reached the possible near miss target. We retested this low, and the double bottom has improved, but at the price of likely going lower, because on heating oil we had a lovely inverted head and shoulders, and it broke up, and this is a very strong rejection, and we've got this rejection has got back below the right shoulder low at 2.15. Very nice inverted head and shoulders, has failed. Normally when you break below it like this, you will see a return to the low. So that's at 1.94, and I'm leaning very strongly towards seeing that. That is what we would generally see. So if we are going to see that, then likely that will drag down WTIC and gas oil as well. Looking at gas oil, this was a bear flag, of course. We had a retest of the low. I was thinking this might go a bit lower as WTIC retested the low, which it's done. But that means on the bigger picture chart that we have now got below the wedge support. Now, maybe I'm going to need to amend wedge support, but it's a pretty nice looking trend line. So at the moment, I'm regarding this as a bullish underthrow, because I think, for a variety of reasons I've explained, I'm looking for a low round here. I don't think this has got much juice or ability to trade much below 50. So I'm thinking wherever this move goes, I'm going to be looking for a low, and I think that will be a decent looking long. So an awful lot of producers really are making 50. Quite a lot of producers, particularly American producers, need 50 or 60 just to make a decent amount of money on their stock. And at 50, they're losing money. An extended period at 50 would actually be self-correcting, because, of course, it would reduce production. And American production is more flexible than a lot of Russian, and so on production, which basically has to continue, because capping a well is very hard. When you're making it from fracking and so on, it's an easier business. All right, so this has obviously extended. I'm expecting that WTIC's probably going to do the same, and we'll go a bit lower there. And I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of the low here on heating oil. Looking at natural gas, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about this move being big enough to look like a breakup and a return to track on getting to these double bottom targets, but we have rejected pretty hard. On the monthly chart, we have come all the way back. Now, we haven't made it back to the daily monthly middle band, which is still at 3.27, but we have made it back to a test of the 50-month moving average, which is, well, you only really see candles on the monthly like this on natural gas. It's a very impressive move. All right, looking at the weekly chart, no divergence. Testing the 200-week moving average. Looking at the daily chart, this was, hang on, where have we got the 200 DMA here? 3.59. So we haven't quite reached that yet. That's here. We've just gone through the 50 DMA. I'm leaning towards a rally, but this looks like a rejection. And if as a rejection, we're probably going to see more downside. We will see how that goes. Not seeing any real sign of this reversing at the moment, but we're pretty oversold short term. I'm leaning towards seeing a rally soon, and we might be seeing the start of that here. All right, let's have a look at gold. Right, looking at gold, we've got a look like I drew this as a bullish triangle last night on the evening charts, but this looks as though it's breaking up into a retest this high. And then really, I'm expecting it to continue higher. I'm not seeing any reason to think that it wouldn't. In terms of silver, we had another triangle there. I drew that in last night. That broke up, made higher highs. We're now continuing higher. I would note that I've got a nice looking resistance trend line here, which I'm watching carefully. I've got that currently in about the 67.2 area, 67.3, and that could well hold. It's quite nice. We will see. We did break below the support trend line here slightly. Not a great deal, and that's cancelled out, and I redraw the line if we hit the resistance trend line again. We'll see. Looking at palladium, I was wondering in my pre-market video yesterday morning about the sell signals which fixed here on palladium and on platinum, and we had sell signals. Both of those sell signals then failed, and I think both of them are fixing again. Hang on, I think this one may have fixed. Yeah, that's definitely a divergence. So we've now got both of them fixed again. But in a situation where it's heading up and it's pretty wild, you can lose divergence. I've seen this happen like 3 or 4 times in a row in a really strong trend. Palladium, in terms of the target here, this had a target at a retest of the October high. I've got that down. Hang on. Reached December 16. All right. And we're going up higher. I've got some extended targets here, but on the bigger picture, I've got a potential inverse head and shoulders just breaking up, and I'm wondering about that making target. Platinum, again, I've got a target a long way above. We're heading up towards that. We had a sell signal that failed, and we've got another one that has now fixed again. I wouldn't put money on this going down, to be honest. HG, we got a double top that broke down here, but this looks as though the double top isn't really particularly relevant. I think this is either a triangle forming Looks most like a triangle forming, in which case it's likely a bullish triangle that delivers a retest of the high. That will fail the double top, but potentially set up another double top as and when we see that. Looking at, hang on, let's have a look at the metals on the bigger picture charts. Okay, gold. Gold triangle broke up. This was a bigger triangle than the one I drew down. That was a very small one. So this has got a date with a retest of the all-time high at 4381.58. That could be, as always, there could be a second high of a double top when we get there. I'm not really expecting one though. Silver has been continuing higher and has been continuing higher because this is an EOD chart. We do have a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing. I think we could quite easily lose that divergence though, so I don't know whether that'll ever grow up into a full-size sell signal. Palladium, nice looking IHS here, and we just broke up from that. You can't see it on this chart, but you will see it on tomorrow's. I'm liking the upside, and I'll draw in the targets here, but I think the target would be in about the 2500 area. So where would that be? Yeah, about the 2500 area. So I'm going to be looking for that. And I think it's got a decent chance of making it. And we've got one thing that makes it more likely is, of course, on platinum, we've also got an IHS which broke up a while back. We saw this big consolidation here, so the IHS right shoulder respected, and this is broken up, and that's got a target to retest this high here at 2290. I'm liking the chances of getting that. And actually, if you have a look, this is actually getting pretty close now. This is us basically testing 2000. This is nice, and I think that's got a pretty good shot of making it. I think there's more coming on precious metals, and I think the more irresponsible things that the US government does in terms of the US dollar being the reserve currency, the more attractive precious metals will be. And it's very nice to see platinum and palladium acting as precious metals now. So in terms of on the daily chart on platinum, we did have a sell signal brewing, but it's gone through that. Fairly classic strong trend stuff, really. Looking at copper, I'm leaning towards a retest of the short-term high, keeping an open mind. I do have this monthly RSI 5 sell signal. I was talking about this on Sunday. I am expecting that to make target in due course. We've seen quite a few of those, and they generally make target. But I am wondering whether we might just see a retest this high here to set up second high of a double top. Nothing really in the short term. We've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. And we've got an older RSI 14 sell signal fixed. We're not seeing any sign of that playing out so far. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at GDX. GDX, we've now, because we retested the highs, we've now got sell signals brewing on the weeklies for both GDX and GDXJ. No sign of it reversing though. No negative divergence on the daily charts. So we'll see how it goes. In terms of the hourly charts, wait a second. No obvious sign of reversal either. So at the minimum, I'd also expect on this setup to see these current highs retested on GDX and GDXJ, even if they are going to reverse back down. We'll see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. KC, we've got 6-minute buy signal fixed. That's been delivering absolutely nothing, and we're continuing down at the moment. And I'm thinking, well, this is an important double top support, and I'm thinking that's probably the next target. SB looks overall like a bear flag. We've got this little double bottom, which is broken up with a target in the 15.43 area. I would love to see that make target. I'm still waiting to see whether it's going to. CC, we've broken down for a little rising megaphone here, and we have possible topping action here. We'll see. Watching really mainly at the moment to see whether it holds the monthly pivot at 57.17. CT, I was looking for a retest of the low, and it has retested. We got a possible double bottom here, so I'm watching to see whether we get support. On lumber, we've got a double bottom that's broken up with the target in the 583 area, and we've got it's on the way there, and I'm not seeing anything to suggest that's not going to make target. ZW, we have headed down on here, and we may well see more downside. I'm looking at that on the daily chart, but I was rather hoping to see a move up here on corn and wheat, and we've not seen it. On corn, pretty close to a retest of this low here. I'm seeing a bit of a rally here, but not a lot to suggest that has a lot of legs. However, we do actually have a 6-minute buy signal here, but that's reached possible near this target. Looking at soy, Soy continuing down, and we have made the head and shoulder target, so that is, I've signed that off as reach target. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, and if we didn't, we'd have another one brewing. On ZL, might see a bit of a bounce here, nice looking little level bottom. 60-minute buy signal is fixed now, so this has basically taken out both the October and the September and November lows now. Good time to see a rally. I don't really have a view on whether we get more than that. Partially depends on soy, I think. Live cattle, we're just consolidating above the weekly pivot at the moment. 60-minute sell signal fixed, but not really delivered anything so far. Lean hogs, possible little double top here, but just looks like a bullish consolidation so far. Waiting to see if this delivers a back test maybe of the monthly pivot at 80.575. For bigger picture, I'm liking the upside. And of course, we do have an open double bottom target with a target in the 88.65 to 90.2 area. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And coffee. Coffee, I'm leaning towards the downside now. We've made quite a lot of progress to the downside. We're breaking down below the weekly middle band, and of course we have a double top here, and we have a larger double top here. I think this is just the overall. I was wondering about another high retest possibly, but it looks like we're not going to see it, and I'm leaning fairly strongly short. Bigger picture, coffee is trading a long way above its historical areas, and I'm thinking we're going to be heading back there now, and I think a similar thing to what I think is happening on cocoa. Sugar, obviously we've got a head and shoulders here with the target in the 9 area, and I'm not seeing anything suggest that won't make target. In the meantime, though, we've been rallying. I'm not seeing any particular sign that's finished, and I'm thinking we might go a bit higher, but bigger picture, we're likely in a downtrend. Looking at cocoa, historically, of course, we got to pretty nosebleed levels against traditional prices. So traditional price levels. So we broke down under this support here, and we've been going down. We've been rallying a bit within that, but the bigger picture is likely downtrend. RSI 14 buy signal has now reached possible near miss target. Obviously, we made target on the RSI 5 buy signal quite a while back. This could reverse at any time. We have broken slightly over this declining resistance trend line, which I'm watching to see if that follows through. But we may just be adjusting the trend line. Looking at wheat. Wheat, we had a very nice looking double bottom, which broke up with a target up here in the 577 to 580 area, but it looks like that's failing. If it fails, I'll be looking for a retest of this low here at 492.50. Cocoa may get dragged down at the same time. Seeing a bit of short-term weakness. It's a shame because we've got this lovely double bottom here, but it's not beyond the bounds of possibility we come back and retest the 368.75 first. I'd be disappointed to see that, but we might see it anyway. We will see. We do have a potential double top here, which I'm watching. We have a nice IHS. It is broken up, and it's got a target in the 495 area. But if we can get back below 409.5, that will fail the inverted head and shoulders and give us a target at a potential retest of 368.75. All right, looking at soybeans. We are back within the old flag, which is still broken. It doesn't tend to come back from the dead after they've been broken. So, but obviously, China deal, nothing really happening from the China deal, and we're getting back into the monthly middle band area. We had an RSI 14 sell signal that's fixed, and we have made the possible near miss target, and we had a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing, and we lost divergence on it. So, more downside soon, likely. However, this could change if the Chinese actually start buying the soybeans they've not yet been buying after this deal was done. The talk was that they'd be buying 12 million tons of soybeans in the near future. So far, they've picked up about 2. Cotton, we've got nice looking double bottom here too. Wondering whether we will see a break up. We have a weekly middle band here. We've got that at 64.25. We have been tracking underneath that for much of the last 4 months. We need to see. We've seen one break above here, which was rejected the following week. We need to see a break in conversion of that level to open up the upside. But at the moment, while it's still holding a strong resistance, then that's not on the table. Lumber, we've got we're well below the weekly middle band here at 576.12. and I'd like to see that hold. We've got a double top which is broken down here with a target basically at 35250, and that would be the bear flag target if we break down from it. And this is a bear flag that's been forming for 3 years. I'm expecting it to break down, but it hasn't broken down yet. It would be nice if it would break down soon, but I'm not sure the market takes requests. In terms of the lumber daily charts, no current divergence. Nope. Maybe that will. I'm watching out for daily negative divergence on the RSI 5. This is the level top that's broken down. 1, 2. Not really seen much follow through on it, but it's still there. It's still valid. And it's still nice. Sooner or later, I'm still expecting that to play out. All right, let's have a look at crypto. So let's have a quick look. And one thing we've been seeing today is the crypto, what I was talking about yesterday. We've seen quite a decent little decline on ES here, but I was saying in my pre-market video this morning that what I'd really like to see would be a sharp decline in the morning, which was all recovered by the end of the day. And while that happened, that the bear flags would make target on crypto. ES is performing as expected so far. We've seen the sharp decline in the morning, and we might be reversing and going back up. But what hasn't happened is the flags making target. Bitcoin is actually not even below this morning's lows. I'm still expecting this to make target. Solana, I think, could have got very close to the target. We got down to 122.56. We're owed low retests on all of these now because Ethereum has now broken down too. This is Ethereum breaking down below the flag channel there. So I think we're owed low retests on all of these, but I'm becoming increasingly skeptical about seeing those today. We shall see, because I think we might get our sharp rise that I was talking about on ES this afternoon. I can see a possible double bottom forming. That actually looks pretty nice. Looking at the 5-minute chart, we've got a 5-minute buy signal fixed already. Looking at the 15-minute chart, sorry, I'm just looking at ES quickly. 5-minute buy signals fixed already. This is a 15-minute buy signal, which is fixing at the moment. I'm thinking we're probably going to see that reversal back up, but crypto hasn't done what I expected. We're still owed a retest of that, and I'm expecting to see that in the next few days, so we shall see. All right, great. In that case, I think it's a wrap. Apologies for the slightly late bigger picture webinar today, and I'll catch you guys again on Sunday.